One person has been killed in a fire that broke out in a building on the beachfront in Durban. It's understood that a 44-year-old doctor died in the blaze. For more on this, let's cross on now live to our reporter Karinda Jagmohan, who starts us off this hour. Karinda, what do we know about this fire and how the building caught fire and where the individual was who has succumbed to the smoke inhalation?
Good morning to you. A tragic story here on the Durban beachfront. I'm standing in front of the Windermere Apartments, which is a block of flats on the Durban beachfront, just opposite North Beach. Now you can see behind me, this is the 6th floor. It was an apartment on the 6th floor that caught fire. You can see the damage that this blaze caused. The entire roof of this building burnt by the flames. Parts of the flat next to it also damaged. Now, from what we understand this morning, people who were living in the vicinity of this flat were evacuated. But now you can see, as we pan across the building, residents have returned to their flats. They're now looking at the situation on the ground. And just talking about that, here on the ground, we're seeing SAPs and metro vehicles. Just behind me, there is a medico-legal mortuary van. We've seen rescue workers prepare to remove the body of who we understand is a 44-year-old doctor who worked at a local hospital here in Durban, just nearby his block of flats, his flat rather. He owned the apartment. Now, healthcare workers, search and rescue workers are now preparing to remove his body from the flat, and they'll obviously conduct further investigations into the cause of the fire. It's unclear the cause of the fire. We know no other residents were harmed. However, this 44-year-old doctor sadly lost his life in the situation.
Are the police at this time suspecting any foul play?
At this point, no. We're seeing police around us. We understand that after the doctor's body is removed from his apartment, then police will continue with their investigations. At this point, no foul play is suspected. However, of course, investigations must further occur. We can see some family and friends, though, of the deceased man who are now waiting for his body to be collected. Of course, there are challenges here as we're in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, as we know. All funerals will be affected going forward. So, of course, this man will have to be buried very quickly in accordance with his own religious customs, but also the regulations beneath the lockdown that takes place. His funeral will not be able to be a large gathering. So now currently his friends and family who are here waiting for this man's body to be retrieved are obviously discussing these issues into what will happen next for the family in the midst of COVID-19 regulations.
And Karinda, do we know at this stage if any other apartments were affected by this blaze?
Well, at this stage, and looking from this building, we can see the apartment just directly next to the man's apartment on the 6th floor has been directly affected, where parts of the apartment was burned. But just looking up at the building, and perhaps we can show you again, you can see it's only the doctor's flat that was burned almost completely. You can see the roof completely damaged, the flat wrecked. We understand that he was inside, of course, his apartment when the fire took place and sadly succumbed to injuries, smoke inhalation, from what we understand from our sources on the ground. However, the building seems to be safe now, as residents, like you can see, have returned to their apartment. Of course, now investigations do need to occur to ensure that going forward there are safety measures in this building to ensure this incident doesn't happen again in the midst of a pandemic, when already law enforcement authorities like Metro and SAPs are needed on the ground to protect citizens in the midst of this regulation. So obviously all other safety measures, such as safety measures inside this building, managers need to be aware of this.
Right. Do we know at this stage if there were such measures in place, Karinda, like fire extinguishers that were in place, smoke detectors that are in place in that building that could have alerted the owner or even those around of this possible fire?
Well, regulations, of course, of a building, and according to the bylaws of eThekwini, there should be fire extinguishers and other measures inside this building. We have not been able to enter this building. It's been closed to any visitors. Currently, only residents and close family and friends of the deceased are allowed to be on the premises. However, this morning we saw metro vehicles, fire trucks around the building trying to put off the blaze. So, of course, additional help was needed, but just around the city, regulations do need to be in place, and perhaps going forward now, local authorities need to ensure that those regulations are in place as we extend our lockdown, to ensure that the work of law enforcement authorities is on the ground, assisting people during the time of the lockdown. Just here you can see a number of police vehicles, the medico-legal mortuary, rather the KZN medico-legal mortuary, waiting for the deceased body to be removed from this flat. We can see some crowds gathering around or just behind this van. And like I said, going forward for this family, rather, it's a time now for them to understand how they need to work around these regulations, and of course their discussion and communication with the management of this building to find out what exactly happened to this 44-year-old Durban doctor.
Newzroom Africa reporter Karinda Jagmohan live for us there at the Durban North Beach. That is where a man has succumbed to smoke inhalation by the reports that we are getting following an apartment building catching fire there. We are following up on that story as more details begin to emerge. We'll bring that to you.